Testing. One, two, three.
Ask you a question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did they pull Riverwood Gardens tonight?
Yes.
They did?
Yes. That's just the inspection on the Riverwood. I have not got the contract itself. All I've got is just the inspection.
Just when you and I have it under contract. I don't even know who the actor
Yeah.
is. Steve
Well,
Moore pushing it, which if there's somebody else trying to buy it, but you know, it's big.
I hope somebody else.
It is our pleasure tonight to have Senator Paige Wiley with us. Senator, thank you for coming to visit with us. Give you a few minutes to talk and answer any questions you might have. We'll put you on the spot a little bit, you know.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the members of the council and administrators and staff, and this guy who was my classmate, teammate all through junior high and high school, Mr. Minor. You couldn't have a better attorney.
Thank you,
And
sir.
all the good folks of Oakland, thank you for the privilege of getting to visit with you tonight. Thank you for the reception and all who had a part in that. I even had something I don't think I've had before, Gouda pimento cheese that I think Mr. Sutton was responsible for. So thank you, Vice Mayor. Particularly enjoyed that. I just wanted to come first of all thanking you for the privilege of serving as your state senator and to talk a little bit with you, but listen more to you about some of the things going on in Nashville and what we can do to make sure we're coming and being of most support to you. I'd like just to mention that I came here directly from Nashville, stopped in Bolivar and dropped my wife, and then hustled on over because not only is it important to be here, but Oakland, you may or may not know, is the largest city in this 26th state senate district. Of 8 counties, but this is the largest geographic state senate district in the state. Each state senate district has roughly 190, 200,000 people. But this one is spread out over 8 counties, all the way from the Shelby County line to over across the Tennessee River. You can drive for a couple of hours here. You can get within an hour of Nashville before you ever have to leave this district. It's a big one. We have 345 cities in the state of Tennessee, spread out over 33 senate districts. So everybody's got roughly 10 apiece. I have 41. Now that 41, Oakland is number 1. You're the big dog, and you're the one that's growing the most, and you're the one that has the most opportunities, and I'm guessing the most challenges at the same time. So I'm here to commend you and tell you that I want to make sure in my role I work with you, and the state works with you to get you the resources you need to have every success. Here's an example of what I hope can be a help. As you know, with all of the stimulus money that's flowing through the state, and now it's going to come to the counties and municipalities, Oakland being the largest, right now, best I can tell, it's going to be roughly in the neighborhood of $2.2 million that'll be flowing to the city of Oakland. There may well be additional monies coming from the state. As you know, Governor Lee in his budget has proposed a couple of $100 million, not only to expand broadband, but another $200 million to come to municipalities for fairly unrestricted use on infrastructure improvement. On that federal money, I know there are lots of questions. I got a call today from the Mayor Selmer saying, well, tell me more about how we can use it. There's been not a great deal of, I guess, direction, but there was some that's come out from the comptroller's office, I think, beginning to give you some idea of how this can be used. Now, this isn't how we say in Tennessee it can be used, but it's how we're understanding from the federal sources that are providing it to us then to distribute how it can best be used. We are also arguing for the most liberal opportunities for you to use that, with the fewest restrictions. So I talked to our comptroller this morning, Jason Mumpower, who it plays a significant role in these conversations, and he is going to be making sure that you have regular updates on what we're learning as far as what that money can best be applied to. If you have any questions at any time, I want you to please call me, call my office. I also want you to know that it's, having grown up here in Fayette County, having gone to school here, Fayette being the largest of those 8 counties by far, let's say 40+ thousand people out of that 200 is right here. So, at least 1/5 of the population is from Fayette County and these 8 counties. I spend extra time here. Tommy Perkins, who you may know as a county commissioner, also has been kind enough to work with me as my district field liaison. So when I'm not able to be at conversations like this, Tommy's representing me and trying to gather as much information. So you can always get him too, but you can come right to me, call my cell phone, call my office. I've got someone in my office, if I'm not in my office, that'll get you what you need. And no question's too small, believe me. I want you to know that we're here to try to make sure you're successful. I wanted to go to Nashville not so much to pass all kinds of important pieces of legislation. There are those. We had a couple of big ones today. I know some that folks weighed in here in Oakland on. I got a lot of correspondence about this, what some people label constitutional carry of handguns, and what was acted on today. And there was one this week I don't think I've ever gotten so many emails on. It had to do with dog breeding. Because someone was looking at restricting how dog breeders operate. And I didn't know you could stir so many people up until someone did that. But I sure heard from them. But the main reason I want to be there is because of the resources of the state that I think we, and many times in rural West Tennessee, have really not seen in recent years our fair share of. And getting those to you, be it for the education needs, the municipal infrastructure, whatever it might take. And I want to make sure that I'm up advocating strongly for you, and so I need to know what you need done, and then we'll get it done as best we can. So that's the first thing I wanted to share with you, and I think the most important thing. I'm on the State and Local Government Committee. The State and Local Government Committee does just what it says. It handles everything connected with state and local governments. But in addition, there are lots of other that you wouldn't think about. Everything related to issues along of alcohol and alcohol distribution and restaurants and those kinds of issues. All kinds of infrastructure needs. Redistricting, which will impact all of us coming up here. And you know, we were informed in the last couple of weeks, and you probably were as well, that the census numbers we're probably not going to be receiving until around September to begin acting on and getting to you. So the state's going to have to redistrict, you know, with congressional, state senate, state house districts, and then that information is going to have to pass down here for the county to use in terms of county commission districts, schools, and I guess as municipalities, like where I live in Bolivar, it is divided into districts. It has to be used to make sure that those are drawn fairly. I also am on the Energy, Agriculture, and Natural Resources Committee. So anything and everything having not only to do with agriculture, which is so important here, but everything you might end up dealing with. We had a bill this week having to do with solar energy and the use of solar equipment and how you can lease it, how you can buy it, what conflicts with utility departments and, you know, fair and unfair competition. So those kind of things you don't think about often, but you think about because you deal with it every day, with the infrastructure challenges of running a city. You know, water, sewer, gas, electricity, solar, roads, all of that we're dealing with and want to be of any help we can be to you. If I don't know the answer, I'll search for it for you. I also, I believe, can be a helpful pathway for us in Oakland to the various agencies of state government that might impact you and you need to have conversations with. Environment and conservation. We had some legislation this week, and this may or may not impact you, but I think it probably does, as developers are looking at how to manage wastewater and how to do it in a way that comports with what environment conservation says. We make sure it doesn't exceed the federal standards, because we don't want people to go above and beyond in Tennessee, but we also passed some legislation this week, at least in the Senate, where developers who are going beyond in terms of using wastewater systems for development don't necessarily have to use these old systems that Department of Environment and Conservation might suggest, these long drip lines that might take up 30 and 40 acres and cause you to cut down all kinds of trees. So it's the most interesting thing you can imagine, all the nuance that we get into. So I want you to know that I know Ron Gant, who I work with closely, is, you know, on the House side, and that leadership role is looking out for our interests here in Fayette County and Oakland. I want you to know that we're, you know, I'm very, very aware of how important what you're doing is, looking at parks, looking at opportunities to provide you again with the resources to succeed. That's what I want to do. So I want to stop there, if I might. I'm glad to take any questions, to talk, elaborate on what I've said, to try to tell you maybe something I haven't said you'd like to hear about. But just wanted to, don't want to take up a lot of your time. I know you have important city business, but it's important for me to get around to our municipal leaders and talk about this, because municipal government, that closest to the people, is what we want to make sure is empowered the most. And we step on your toes as little as possible, and yet, try to be as helpful as possible.
Anybody on the council got a question? Mr. Jay?
Senator, as you know, there's several revenues that are shared with cities and counties on the basis of population from the state of Tennessee. With the delay in the census numbers, will state shared revenues July 1st, will they still be based on the old numbers? And why I'm asking that question, for Oakland, our official population with the state of Tennessee is like 6,600 people. And
What it really is.
about half of what it really is. So state shared revenues being accurate and reflective of our true population is going to be significant for us. But whether it can happen for fiscal year 22 or be delayed to fiscal year 23, we just don't know yet.
I don't know the answer. My sense is it's probably not going to happen July 1, because we're not even going to get the census numbers until September. So my guess is it will be at least until March or so of next year. Maybe it could start in that quarter. But I don't sense they're going to be basing that distribution on the estimated
Right.
numbers.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have a question for the senator?
Be glad to answer.
Senator, Alonzo Tate, Big Red Family Farm. With the recent passing of the last stimulus package, there was a part in there for farmers to receive funds. Will the state have some kind of oversight on those eligible and have guidance for those individuals when this rolls out? And additionally, will this happen in a timely fashion?
Thank you for the question. I don't know the answer to if our Department of Agriculture is going to have a role in determining that. My guess is there probably is yes. When the feds seem to do this kind of passage of these large investments and infusions of money, they get us involved, be it through the Department of Health, be it through the state passing money on the cities. I can find out for you. I'll leave you my card, and if you can email me that question, I'll have it. I'll get you the answer first of next week, if not tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. Senator, I want to thank you for coming, and I really want to thank you for promising to have Tommy here at every one of our meetings.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
He wants to be the last one out, sir.
I really appreciate that. And I'll be sure to let you know if he misses it.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
Anyway, thank you, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and visit tonight. I'm glad to come back regularly and listen to you. I'm glad to come at other times, formal, informal. So thank you for the privilege.
Well, we know you've got other meetings to go to, so we thank you for taking time to visit with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before you proceed on the agenda, could you recognize Alderman Fisher for just a moment?
All right. Alderman Fisher.
Thank you. Last Saturday, I had the privilege to attend the 42nd Annual Fayette County Chamber of Commerce. Mayor Brown had a previous engagement and sent his regards. He was awarded the Ambassador Award, and it reads, Representative Mike Brown, in honor of your outstanding performance and dedication towards helping the Fayette County Chamber of Commerce. Now, I'd like to give that to him now.
Thank you, sir. I
Thank you,
appreciate
sir,
it. Appreciate it.
for everything you've done.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. That's a good honor for the chamber. They help us a great deal here in our community. Okay. It's now time for reading, correction, and approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to hear.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
All right. Give you a few minutes to look them over and see if there's any corrections you want to make.
Call for vote.
Have a call for vote. All in favor, or anybody have any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
I have a second section of minutes on the special call meeting for March the 4th. Give a motion to read and to approve the minutes of March 4th. Motion made, second.
Second.
All right, give you a few minutes to look over those.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Have a motion to approve minutes, have a second motion for Vice Mayor Sutton, second for Mr. Cates. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. At this point in our time, we have citizens' comments. Mr. J, I believe you might have a Boy Scout you want to introduce tonight.
Yes, you'll recall that there was discussion at a prior meeting about a Eagle Scout project at Cypress Creek Park. He is here this evening to formally discuss the project with the board. Staff has signed off on the project. Christian?
Young Christian, if you'll come up to the podium here and introduce yourself, and we'll be glad to hear what you got.
All right. My name is Christian Kelly. I'm a junior student of Fayette Ware Comprehensive High School. In 2011, I believe in the 3rd grade back then. I saw a sign that invited me to anyone to join the BSA. I of course took interest and decided to join. Asked my parents everything, and I got started out as a bear. So later on, I've made lots of friends, met fellow scouts, and needless to say, very many positive interactions. Taught me moral principles and skills that I couldn't learn anywhere else, and that's really why I'm here.
And sick patient exams, hospitalization.
That's why I'm here today, to present my outdoor information kiosk down at Cypress Creek Park. It's going to serve as a board that displays a catalog, whether it be recent events, advertisements, any short notices, or any source of information to be placed on the board. That said, security measures and actions can be taken to make sure that the environment and weather doesn't affect the kiosk as much. And I have a plan. I have a plan coming up to I can't think of it, but
That's all right. You go right ahead.
yeah. But I have a plan to build the kiosk. I've contacted Oakland Parks about it. I'm gonna figure out a way, see where this goes.
All right.
I'm here to answer any outstanding questions that any of you may have. So,
Members of the board, Mr. J and I met with him and his mother. He made his presentation. We think he's got an outstanding project, and it meets, Jay has checked with the staff. It meets our staff approval. So if you've got any questions for the young man, we think he's got a good project.
How big is it?
It's gonna. I have it written down. I have it written down here. I wasn't good with remembering it, but
It's all right.
hope you don't mind.
No, sir, you help yourself. If I didn't have written stuff, I'd be in trouble.
If you can't find it, it's okay.
I'll inform it. I'll inform you. I'll inform you of the size later whenever I'm able. I once remembered.
Hope for Park and Recreation, assist you, with, in your, remembering, that.
He has talked with Parks and Recreation, yes, sir, they're gonna work closely with him on it.
Mr. Kelly, Mr. Fisher, do you have a question? I'm sorry.
Okay, the base of your project is gonna be pavers, concrete,
Somewhere around that, yeah, like concrete. It's gonna be filled in with concrete, cement, sand, or any of the following. Whatever is the easiest to work with.
but not grass.
Not grass.
Good deal.
Mr. Sutton.
First of all, congratulations on your Life Scout badge there, and getting to where you are now. It's a major turning point for a young man in scouting. It's a sign of a long-term commitment that will shine on you for the rest of your life. When you go for an interview, people will be able to see that you started something and you'll stick with it to finish it. And this project, for those that don't know, it's required for him to become an Eagle Scout. And it's really the last step to complete that. And then that project has to go in front of a council. And the council will approve it, and then he will be able to get his Eagle Scout award. And congratulations, sir, and I wish you the best of luck. And I'll volunteer if you need some assistance on that. You let me know when that is, and I'll be down there to help you, okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, one more.
Just a comment, no question. I work along with Troop 133, that's where you're from,
Yes, sir.
on a different project. These guys do excellent work. They work hard, they do a great job. Congratulations.
Well, along the same line, Mr. Johnson and I met with a few other scouts today who are wanting to work with the city, and we talked about several projects, and they will be coming before the board here in the near future. Young man, thank you very much for giving your efforts to Oakland. Wish you the best in your projects. Let us know what we can do to help.
Thank you.
Good deal.
All right, any other citizens wish to address the committee?
Russ Emily, Village of Riverwood. I know with the recent storms and all that, they've taken our toll on our roads around here. Riverdale and Oak Ridge looks like a minefield. I'm sure all the other neighbors look like that also. Is there any way that you can inform the citizens on the official Oakland page of any plan of attack to fix this problem? Because there's going to be car damage, whether it be ball joints, alignments. I'm talking big potholes. Should the citizens be sending the bill to you, Mayor, or the alderman? If we have some kind of plan of attack that people can look at, that'll be followed through, I think the citizens would appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
David Wiggins, Cypress Point Cove, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Alderman. I'm here tonight to talk about bridge at Cypress Creek Park. This is a long and winding road we've been down with this bridge. It's in a neighborhood on the south of town. There's many people who use that bridge that don't just live down there. They live all over the place. Kids use this to get back and forth to school. That was its main purpose and intention when it was first built. A parent should be able to go to work and know that their kid is safe, not walking on the highway to come home from school. They have a safe path to get home. Many people come down there and use the park, and they would like to use the bridge to access the open public space just on the other side. We have a new park that's being built. The number one thing that people put on the survey for the new park was they want walking trails. There is an existing walking trail. It's a sidewalk with a rail. It goes through a beautiful wooded area over a water feature that is inaccessible because of the disrepair of the bridge. And just because we build the new park does not mean that citizens are not going to continue using the existing parks in the neighborhoods. There's 2 or 3 changes, smaller changes, that we could do with some of these parks to make them easier and better for the citizens' use. This is one of them. It's important. It's the only thing I'm going to mention tonight. I'm not going to bring up the fact that my neighborhood has very poor streets and is in major need of new asphalt. Not even going to mention that tonight.
Appreciate you not mentioning that.
Only here to discuss the bridge. I would like to see it get fixed. Many people would like to see it get fixed. Tonight, I would just appreciate if we could just get a quote. We got bids, we have contractors, these are all 2 or 3 years old. If we could get somebody to go down there, look at it, it's hard to make a decision when you don't know what something's gonna cost or how long it's gonna take. I would like to get a quote to fix the bridge.
I will give you a quote. The quote is very simple. We inherited this problem,
I understand.
and we have spent much time on it, and hopefully in the next couple of months, we're gonna have a resolution.
I think we spent too much time on it, and at some point, we have to take this issue, put it behind us and move on. So,
I 100% concur with your thoughts.
thank you for the time.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, Alderman. My name is Nick Janicek, HOA President of Cross Creek, over off of Wart Road. Similar to what we've spoken to, or what the previous people have spoken to, I moved into this town. I'm a recent resident. I love Oakland, by the way. I moved here literally in October for a job, and you know, I see a lot of great in this town. I see a lot of great in my community. One of the reasons I moved there. One of our biggest issues, even previous to this storm, was our roads. Post-construction, our roads were already damaged. Post-storms, they're even worse. There are huge potholes, as people have said in other neighborhoods as well. What our neighborhood is really looking for is not even a resolution of when it's getting done. It's a path to speak to y'all and a path to tell y'all what do we need to do and what do we need to put in front of you to get you on the schedule and to get the teams out there to look at the roads and understand what we need to do to start that path so that we can go back to our neighborhood and say, this is what we're doing, here's the steps. You know, unfortunately, we don't even understand the steps. We're just citizens trying to help our community. So if there's any way that there can even be a path to those steps that's shared with us that we can take to try to get on future schedules, that would help. But, you know, we're really just looking for answers for our community and our neighborhood to make sure that, you know, that we keep our promise as an HOA board and my promise as an HOA president to keep the value of our neighborhood, the value of our community, and the value of Oakland. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Alonzo Tate, Big Ray's Family Farm. The Oakland Chamber of Commerce normally sponsors many of the town's festivals. I would like to offer the use of a location to support some future events for Oakland. Big Ray's Family Farm would like to open its doors as a place for outdoor events and sports until complex is completed. We're on the heels of Spring Fest, and I was also curious if Oakland will continue the tradition of Spring Fest this year in a modified fashion due to coronavirus.
I think you will hear some comments on that later on in the meeting tonight. And my answer to you is yes, we intend to do something.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Anyone else?
How's everybody doing?
Good.
I know a couple of you pretty well. I think you guys know me. My name is Chris Newberry. I'm new to Oakland. I opened a business here in May of last year, and business has been pretty well for us. Very fortunate for that. And you know, one of the things I get asked a lot is, do you guys serve food? And we don't. We're not a restaurant of any type. But I do try to refer people here to the restaurants that we do have. Unfortunately, for the vast majority of the time, the only options I can give them are Mexican restaurants, which, hey, I love Mexican restaurants just as much as the next man. We don't have many options here, and, you know, that's not the town's fault. You can only bring in what the town, you know, what the people want to bring in, right? So, we didn't have an axe throwing establishment until I brought one here. We won't have another establishment until somebody brings it here. But my question is, in the meantime, what do we need to do to allow food trucks in here? I was asked once before to somebody else. I know you guys probably aren't fully on board with it, mainly from a tax revenue standpoint, but at what point can we charge a permit fee, right? So one of the arguments I heard was, well, what about the businesses that have a vested interest in this town already, these restaurants that are already open and established? And I do appreciate their vested interest, but I'm also a business owner here who has a vested interest here. I've spent every dollar I've ever saved to open a business during a pandemic, and like I said, I'm fortunate that we're still open, but there comes a point where I would like to be able to offer my customers other opportunities as well. If I can have a food truck set up near my store, that would be fantastic. It gives me the option to say, hey, we're gonna have, you know, XYZ here tonight. Come eat some food, throw some axes, have a great night. Helps me stay in business, brings more revenue to the town, because it's not only my business that they're helping, right? The more people come here, the more money they're gonna spend here. So I am from a much larger town with a much larger infrastructure, but we're still the same. Even though we have a lot of people living here, and there are a lot of people moving here for all the houses that are being built, we still rely on those outside dollars coming in, and any town is gonna need that. So we need the Arlington money to come here, we need the Lakeland money to come here, we need the Bartlett and the Cordova and the Germantown money to come here. They don't have to buy a house here, but their tax dollars are being spent within our community as well. And even if those food trucks, they may pay that fee to come here and pay a permit fee to come here, they may not make a dime. And if they don't, they're out that whole fee. And let me tell you, it's a very sobering effect to have a business open and be operating all day long and not see any customers. So I ask you that we figure out a way to put that in motion where we can get food trucks allowed out here, bring more business to Oakland, give more business to the Oakland businesses that are also established here. Thank you for your time.
Okay. You want to comment on it?
Yeah, if I could comment on the food trucks, they're legal now. They can go get a permit now to operate in Oakland. But the problem was,
that they couldn't come, the city of Oakland turned them down.
well, they don't let them come for free. But another option, and I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of the people, they circumvented the permit fee, and I won't call any names, but let me just say Joe's Food, okay? So Joe's Food, what they did to circumvent from getting a permit is they pre-sold. Okay, so they got online, they said, okay, Oakland, we're gonna be in Oakland next Saturday. And all they had to have is a place of business just like yours to be in for them people to pick up that food that day. Is that not right, Mr. Walter? So you could do that you can do it tomorrow. And they pre-sale, they bring the stuff to the Southern Axe, people come to the Southern Axe and pick it up, they don't even need a permit, is that right? Because they pre-sold, they sold it in Memphis, right?
I don't think they're talking about that one day that they're picking up food.
Right, I mean,
I think they've done that in the past here.
as long as they're in another business, is what I was told, because they went to other businesses in Oakland, restaurants from Memphis, pre-sold meals, and then they took them to circumvent from coming and setting up their truck. They took it to the business and did it. But Mem Pops can come here. All they have to do is buy the permit.
What's the permit cost?
I don't know.
Listen, I'll do the legwork. You tell me what the permit costs.
I would have to check,
I'll
I'll
call.
see what the permit is, but I think it's about $200 for 30 days.
Okay.
Mr. J?
I'll just put this out there. Many cities have ordinances on food trucks which regulate the number, the placement, all kinds of things. We wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel to find some sample ordinances for the council to look at and discuss. Now, I don't know if it's something we want to do or not, but, I think that is something that other cities have experience with that we could probably look at if there's interest.
I think we just, this board hadn't, but the previous board revised that ordinance. It's been revised recently.
Yes, we do.
As I understand what I just heard, if your vendor wants to buy a permit that's good for 30 days, they can come. Now, you might want to follow up and let him double check the regulations and make sure everything's cultured before we do it.
Give me one of my phone.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
That is pre-ordered though, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, to sell out of another, that's what they did. They got on Facebook and they sold orders,
Right.
okay? And then as long as they had a business that would deliver them, and they did, it was in Oakland, and the people picked that stuff up they pre-ordered at that location.
Right.
Well, listen, I won't circumvent anybody. I'll make sure they're aware of the fact that, listen, $200, it's good for a month. If it is just $200, that's not that bad. I was thinking it was $150 each time they came, or something along that line. But, we won't circumvent the county or the city, so.
We'd hope they'd give us about that much in taxes every time they come.
Most of the people that got run off is because they didn't have a permit at all.
Well, we'll make sure of that. Thank y'all for that.
Thank you. Any other citizens?
When you get this permit, I believe you still have to have the health department's okay. So look into that as well, okay? Because all establishments who sell food or gotta have a health department inspection and all that.
If they're based out of Fayette, they should be okay. It would be based out of another county.
No, that's if you're selling,
Okay, so regardless.
regardless, if you're selling,
If
health
they're not,
department still has to know it's coming from your building. They don't know it's coming from, Jan's house,
Right.
okay?
I would think that an operating food truck would understand the health department rules
Probably so.
on that. But he's right, they should double check that. Any other comments from the commission, board? Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak to the council tonight? All right, we will move on then. I have very little communication tonight. All I will tell you is that all the things presented to us by citizens we're well aware of, and we're working on. And what we're trying to do is get better communication with you. We're working on that. We're working on our webpage. We're working on updating our technology. So bear with us. Just remind you that we've only been here 3 months. Give us a little time, and we will try to make things better. Thank you. All right, at this time, department heads, do any department heads have anything they want to say other than their written reports already submitted? No comments from the department heads? Any questions for the department heads?
I do. You had something to say first, Miss Yvonne? Go ahead.
Yes.
I just wanted to report to the board, the property taxes that were due payable for the 2020s was $1,210,119. Of that, we have collected $1,142,636, and for the outstanding taxes, we have only 311 tax notices that have not been paid, and that totals $67,483. Also, I would like to ask, as the board's aware, we, the administration and the water billing offices, have been in desperate need of storage space. The storage issue is now reached its critical point of there is no space left available. We have exhausted all space within the City Hall. We are right now in need to rotate old files to the storage room to make room for the 2020 files, which are now sitting on the floor in boxes. As a reminder, the fiscal year 21 is just over 3 months away, and those files will need to be boxed up to make room for the 2022. With all due respect, I'm requesting of you to allow the conference area of the Code Enforcement Building or the unused Fayette County Clerk's Office to be utilized as a temporary storage facility for the admin and water billing departments. In granting this request, it would serve as a temporary resolve for the file storage problem, but it would also benefit in improving the productivity, safety, and the morale of the staff. I would thank you for any consideration that you would give.
Is it not some of those, once they're reached a certain date, that we can't file away somewhere else?
We do that.
So how much of this can we file like that?
We've already disposed of everything that we can possibly dispose of legally. We are sitting on top of everything that we cannot dispose of.
What's wrong?
The tag office, the Fayette County tag office, what's the agreement with that? I don't know. I'm asking if anybody knows.
Are they not gonna reopen?
Because of this question, anticipating this question, I sent a letter yesterday to the county clerk's office, to Mrs. Culver, asking her plans. I think you all know that office has been closed for several months now. I know COVID was part of it. I understand there were some staffing issues were part of it. I think we all recognize that's a valuable service to our citizens, not having to go to Somerville. So, I mean, there's some real advantage to having the office here. But at the same time, it's not currently being utilized. And so I tried to respectfully ask what plans she had for that space.
Did you not get an answer?
That was just yesterday. In fairness, that was just yesterday.
Are they renting it?
The other space that you were requesting, Ms. Bullard, what was it?
It's the conference room over in the Code Enforcement Building. It's a large space off of where we currently have a storage area. We would just be.
Add to it. Maybe talk to it.
I think Mr. Johnson could do that tomorrow, if he sees fit. I don't see where that would take any board action.
All right, I got one more question over here.
Are they renting that tag office space, or is that ours and we're just letting them use it for free?
That's correct.
That-
It's ours, we're letting them use it for free.
So it's ours. If they're not using it,
It just provides such a service to the citizens, though. I mean, look at not having to drive to Somerville. Look how much money is saved by our citizens not having to go to Somerville.
well, they haven't been open for how long?
They've opened and closed a couple of times due to this.
I think what I've heard in consensus from the board is they want this addressed, and will allow Mr. Johnson to address it under his authority. Is that agreeable?
That's my understanding. He has the full authority to assign anybody an office or space.
Okay. Ms. Yvonne, hopefully we can do that. I think you can keep using those tables in Jay's office myself.
Jay's office will be the next one that we start putting boxes in.
He hadn't got much room back there. All right. Moving on. Any other comments from department heads?
I just had a question for one.
Okay.
Mr. Harvey,
Yes, sir.
I know that you've rode these roads and seen it. Do you have a plan on these roads?
Not at this time, to be honest, it's a bit overwhelming. The only plan I would say would be the resolution that's gonna be before you guys tonight, so we can discuss that a little bit more when we get to that.
Are we still patching? Is that machine working to?
Yes, when we can, but again, we're limited, we do have, so for the new board members that may not know, we do have a hot box, and those 3 yards of asphalt, and of course, we do cold patch, and we have a saw, we cut out areas and pick up areas, and we have a roller. But we're very limited by the size of the project we can repair. Again, not to get ahead, but the point of the resolution before you later tonight is to fill in this gap in between the things we can do in-house and the big annual or semi-annual projects. Be able to get a contract with the vendor, a price per square yard, per ton, as long as we had money, as long as we had funds budgeted, it would expedite this process tremendously.
And now you'll talk about that later on tonight, okay? Any other questions for any department heads? All right. Mr. Johnson?
I wanted to, reminder, we have a special meeting on Monday, March 29th. That will be the public hearings on the Twin Oaks Plan Development Amendment and the public hearing on the ordinance revising some of the water and sewer fees. Not the water and sewer rates, the water and sewer development fees. That's on the 29th.
And that will be 6 o'clock.
7 o'clock. We advertise, it's public hearing, we advertise at 7. Thank you, yes.
I thought we had agreed to 6 o'clock
I did too. I thought we had voted to put that at 6 o'clock.
last month's meeting.
Workshop.
Yeah, yes, we,
Okay, I may have misspoke. I thought the pad said 7 o'clock.
I'm pretty sure we said 6.
Yeah, I'm positive we
Yeah.
said 6.
Okay, 6, I'm sorry, 6 PM, 6 PM, I'm sorry.
You'll just be late.
That's okay.
Been there.
I've got something to add to that. I regret that, I will not be able to attend that special call meeting due to previous engagement. Probably here in spirit, good luck there.
All right. All right, we're moving on now to reports from members of the board. Cypress Creek Bridge, Mr. Fisher.
We've been talking about this bridge for well over 8 years. In 2018, King Engineer Consultant hired Fisher Arnold to do an inspection of the CCCP bridge. They found the bridge is unsafe. The bridge originally belonged to Echo Bridge, who designed and built the bridge in 2006. 2007 it was completed. The first time the bridge had a problem and was mentioned was in 2013. Since then, we've been discussing what to do with the bridge. Now, if we move forward, we're right here in 2021, and we're still playing with this bridge. And so are the kids playing with that bridge. The other day, we had a kid go over there and start playing with it. I was like, what are you doing here? This bridge just says, keep off. He kind of ran away, and I may have not said something nice. But the fact is that we are still having an issue with the bridge. We've gone to the county. County says, we have no invest in this. Well, it comes to find out that bridge is deed to us, Oakland. And now it's our responsibility to do something with it. Well, I make a motion that Mr. Johnson go forward and issue a statement of work requesting a minimum of 3 sealed bids from engineers and contractors who will assess the bridge and have the know-how in repairing of bridges with composite decking or other like material. The submitted bid with the best value for the town of Oakland be presented to this Board of Aldermen for awarding a contract for repairs to the Cypress Creek pedestrian bridge. That's what
I have a motion from Alderman Fisher. Do I have a second?
I've got a question.
I think I have to have a second before we can have questions. Do I have a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Can I make an amending motion on this subject? I guess I can. It wasn't tabled.
Since that one has died, you may come back.
I think the amending motion should be, I think that he's wanting to hire too many people at the same time. How about, I'm gonna make a motion to allow Mr. Johnson to seek bids for the resurfacing of Cypress Creek Bridge.
Okay. Have a motion from Vice Mayor Sutton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Discussion. Mr. Fisher.
I have no discussion.
Okay.
I'll
Anybody else?
third it.
I've got a question.
Okay, let me get Mr. Cates and then I'll come back to you, Mr.
Yes,
Thompson.
sir.
I thought we agreed in the last meeting to give you okay to get the prices or estimates or whatever to fix or repair or tear out.
That's correct. That's what I've been doing. And I'll start with removal. I contacted 6 crane and rigging companies. 3 of them declined. 2 of them have come out and looked at the bridge. 1 of them is preparing a proposal for us. And my discussions with them have been that they would, well, I gave them 2 options. Let me back up from, I gave them 2 options. They could cut the bridge in half, remove it in 2 pieces, or remove it in 1 solid piece. The discussion seems to be to remove it in 1 solid bridge, and they would haul it either to our public works yard for storage, or they'd haul it to the scrap yard, whichever we want to do. The thing with the removal, all the crane companies will do is remove the bridge. Everything else would be up on us. So I'm trying to determine what some of those costs are. The other point that has been made very clearly, we're talking about bringing in, and the term that was used was sizable. It's going to take a sizable crane to remove that bridge. Even with putting down matting and things like that, it's probably going to do damage to the soccer fields. And it's easier to address the bridge from that side than it is the other side. So if we're going to remove the bridge, it's probably going to need to be done in June, July, or August when it's dry, to minimize damage to the property. Also, we'll either have to do it with Public Works or hire it done. A number of trees will need to be removed or topped so that when the crane lifts the bridge, they'll have the ability to swing it out to place on a truck. I don't want to call them contingencies, but there's a lot of details that these crane companies will look to the city to do before they can set up. But I think if we decide to go that route, it probably is feasible to remove the bridge in 1 piece. The mayor and I have been contacted by an individual who is a structural worker. I'm not sure what the right term is. A skilled bridge worker, builds bridges, who lives here in Oakland. He has volunteered to look at the bridge and give us a report or have a discussion on what he thinks might be some options, particularly on the decking, to answer the point that was just made. He had looked at the bridge informally, and he thought structurally, as was said in the report from Fisher and Arnold, he thought the structure looked okay. So he was going to, this is gratis. He just a concerned citizen is going to go off the top. So we've got some things in the pipeline, but they've not come together yet. The only comment I would make on the motion, and we can do this, but we're back to the issue, if it exceeds 50,000, we've got to have an engineer and architect sign off on it. But I think I know how we might address that legally. We do a turnkey project. But that is, we've got that issue to deal with as well.
So did you get a price on what it would cost to put it back like it is with wood and leave a little 1/4-inch crack in it?
At this point, no, sir. At this point, no, sir.
We have a gentleman that's going to come to us with some thoughts and costs, like on that particular thing you're talking about, Mr.
But not yet.
But not tonight.
So the motion had already been made, I just couldn't table it till next month till we get some figures.
Well, if he already has, I thought the motion last month died on the table. It was voted down.
It did.
So when did we give Mr. Johnson permission to get quotes on resurfacing?
Two meetings ago.
I thought that was for tearing down.
That was
Removing.
for destruction.
That was for destruction. That wasn't for, so my motion and the second is to give Mr. Johnson the ability to get quotes on resurfacing the Cypress Creek Bridge.
All right?
Second, or if it's third.
It's seconded.
It's already been seconded. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, according to my understanding, you now can either tear it down or you can get repaired. You have permission to get quotes on each one of them.
I will provide a
And
report
bring
to
it
the
to the board.
board.
All right. Moving on. Main Street Building Project, Mr. Fisher.
We've been arguing with this one as well. This is the bank building and the buildings that were purchased almost 2 years ago. We're trying to find out what to do with it. We have several options of getting somebody to go in there and look at, find out what kind of asbestos we have there, how much we have there, and it's got to be removed. We all know that. I don't know if there's lead paint in there. That might be another issue. With other than that, they want to have part of the building destroyed and then build a wall there. But if we do that, we're going to start messing with asbestos again. The question being, what are we to do? My suggestion is to tear the whole place down. Start from the beginning. It's going to be a building that's going to last a long time. That building's been there for 100 years as it is. And for us to just fix or remodel, we don't know how long that building's going to stay there after that. But if we start anew, we can have 3 stories and a good building that will last a while. Now the question being, do we want to do that? Or do we want to remodel for a building that's going to last probably 10 years?
Could I make a comment on that?
Yes, sir.
To make that a permanent place, you don't have parking. It's something that we could get by with for a few years if we repair it. But to tear it down and build it, where you gonna park? We don't have any parking. So,
That's a lot of land over there.
not enough for that kind of parking.
I thought we already had this underway too. For some reason, I thought we had allowed you to seek an architect and to get this project rolling.
The proposals are due tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Tomorrow will be next month. We'll know something.
No, that's true. I mean, the proposal due tomorrow, it would be,
We've got a special call the 29th that could go on.
well, I'm not sure I sent the invitations to about 12 or 14 architectural firms. I've had numerous calls. I expect to get a very good response in terms of interest. I'm not sure I can go through those and review them and evaluate them within a week. Now, but for your April study session, yes. for the 29th, I don't know if that's being realistic. And again, I don't know for sure what we're gonna receive. I mean, I'm optimistic I'm gonna get several, but I don't know. Plus, the other thing I wanna do, once we get their proposals, their qualifications, we've got to check their references, check their work. But the process to evaluate that building the process has begun, not the evaluation, but the process itself. Proposals are due tomorrow. And we've done this in accordance with TCA, so this is professional services.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion.
I got something, question first.
All right, you let him ask his question?
Yes.
Be fine. Mr. Cates?
I think Mr. Owens had told me about a year ago that he inspected that for asbestos and lead paint, is that right?
No, sir, I have not inspected that building, and,
It's in the minutes where you told me you did.
I don't remember.
It's in the meeting, it's in the minutes, I've heard it, 2 other board members has heard it. But if it's asbestos in that building, it's a certain kind, if you don't destroy it or touch it, can't you spray it? And
Are we talking about lead paint or
No,
asbestos?
asbestos.
Okay. I don't know much about asbestos.
It's something, I think Vice Mayor Sutton might have some information, it's a certain kind that you can spray over as long as it hadn't been.
Well, I think right now we're putting the cart before the horse. I mean, we've got to hire this architectural, and then they'll do the studies, and,
They'll
I mean,
find out then.
I think we've either got to commit to fixing that place, or we got to put a for sale sign on it, one of the two.
Okay. Mr. Hahn?
Can I make a motion?
Yes, sir, you can.
I would like to make a motion to table this until we have information that he's already looking into. Until, I guess, next month's meeting, or he has time to vet all of his applications for architecture.
Second.
Have a motion to second to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on. All right. Mr. Fisher, roll call votes.
Robert's Rules of Meetings says that anybody in the alderman position can call for a roll call vote. And that's on important documents, not if it's all a consensus, we all agree on something like this right here. We didn't have to have a roll call vote. But a roll call vote is to make sure that the person who's voting is very firm in what they're saying. And they are, like, how do you vote? Yay or nay? If we don't have something like that on important votes, come time when people want to talk to you, how'd you vote? I voted yes. Okay, I voted no. And people are subject to being questioned on their vote. I am a lot. I don't know why, but I am. I think my vote is, can we do this? Yes. It's just a suggestion that everybody knows that we can do a roll call vote on any matter before us. It's not something we need to vote on. It's not something that we need to make a motion on. It's just a statement of fact. I'm done.
My comment on this is that anytime any one of you want a roll call vote, all you have to do is let me know, and we will have a roll call vote. In my recollection of our meeting so far, we had one request for a roll call vote, and I granted it. And we will continue to do it that way.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, moving on. Mr. Hahn, trash dumpster.
Yes, sorry to add this late, I missed the deadline, but I know you guys drive around, I know every single one of y'all, I know a lot of these folks drive around town. It's a personal item to me, there is a lot of garbage and litter and trash. There's couches and chairs and tires. I'm asking, and I've talked around to a few other citizens that would volunteer to get out there and clean this stuff up. They just simply don't have enough room in their personal garbage cans. You know, I know we've allowed certain citizens to dump in the police garbage can and town hall garbage can, but that's very limited. So it's just a request,
Could I say something, Mayor?
Mr. Hine, you yield your,
go ahead.
This is something that's already been discussed and approved, and I think, Mr. Ellis, we were looking into a couple of compactors to go in that would automatically, when it would get, they would do it.
I remember discussing about the compactors and placing them in different areas around town, but to be honest with you, I thought that died because there was some security, safety concerns, so.
That's what our last question on it was, is how would we prevent that thing from compacting with nobody there? Was that possible to get it because they were automatic and gonna compact? But we do have available funds for solid waste to do something like that.
If I may, my request is simple. We've got some space over here across from Town Hall. Everybody knows where Town Hall is because a lot of people pay their water bills over here. If we could just get a rental, one of the construction style dumpsters, I don't know, I talked to Harvey a little bit previous, before the meeting. I think that if we could put something like that where, with our company to come and get it, take it and dump it, you know, have it a couple of times, maybe even just for a spring cleanup. I know I will utilize it, I'll get out there and fill it up. But a lot of people, I think, would also chip in and clean up our town, if they had just a simple place to put it.
okay,
And I'm just seeking permission to get.
I'm all for it.
okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Cage.
I'd like to ask Mr. Ellis a question. I know when they throw these little couches and stuff out, stuff that the trash company won't pick up, when y'all pick those up, what do you do with them?
Take them to the landfill, county landfill.
So if you start putting big couches and stuff in one of those construction dumpsters, then you don't last long.
We can get it done, all we have to do is call them, we'll see how the demand is, and first I need to see what I would prefer to go under our current contract with our trash service now. I'm not sure if they offer a 40-yard construction dumpster, but I can find out. But I think, depending on the demand, I think we can have those dumpsters go ahead and turn around.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm hearing consensus here. Mr. Johnson, would you please get with the staff and work this out for us?
I will, if I may, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to say something, and I am not speaking against the motion. I just want it understood. The negative point of an open dumpster that anybody can come to, if anything improper.
It's gonna be dead dogs and everything else thrown in.
That's fine, that's fine. I'm talking about if there's any chemicals, if there's anything that is considered hazardous, once it's in that dumpster, it contaminates the entire load and has to be dealt with that way. It probably would rarely happen, but we need to understand that there could be occasions when we'll inherit a problem.
If it's a hazardous waste, we not only inherit the problem, we have to dispose of that,
We inherit the solution.
and that costs a lot of money.
I've got one right here. Okay, so, yep, that's true. That's true. We can't attest for who's gonna throw what in there. But guess where they're gonna throw it?
Yes,
On the side of the road.
the downside of us is probably less negative than what we have now. But, you know, that is one of those risks that we have to acknowledge when we do this, because it's unattended. Now, if, you know, like county convenience centers are manned to help mitigate that risk. We're not talking about that, we don't need to talk about that. I'm just saying that that's the kind of thing that one of these days could happen.
Well,
But
what
I'm
about
not
the-
against it.
Well, my question to you is, what about my dumpster behind Kroger that everybody puts their stuff in? I mean, who's the liability reside with there? Does it reside with the trash company that's got the contract, the person that rents the dumpster, or the person that puts it in there? That's my question. I mean, we all have garbage cans at our house. You put something in there, what if they dump it in the garbage truck and paint gets all over that? Who's gonna be responsible for that? Is it gonna be the person that put it in there, or the town? I don't understand that.
Well, if they can identify the address it came from, then that address is responsible. I've seen that, but now, normally they can't do that. I just want everybody to be aware that on a very, very rare occasion.
See, my concern is that we cleaned up the front of City Hall and then have a big trash dumpster out there in front of it. It may
That
smell
might
like
not be
who
the
done it
best
come
spot.
July.
No,
All right,
that's just a suggestion.
We got some nice buildings down here we put in front of.
We got a sewage pond.
But, we got,
Code looks good.
all right, hold up, guys, let's,
we have, Matsley, and she's with Waste Connections, that's our current provider. Would it be okay if I asked her these questions, if she wanna address?
would you step up, please, ma'am? And state your name and, for the record?
Lindsay Madsick with Waste Connections, and.
Welcome.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
And I do wanna say I just started at the end of December, and, I am, my area is the residential and, residential customers. We do have a sales department that works with commercial business that does, offer, I know we have some 6-yard dumpsters in certain areas around town, and, we do have compactors and other things like that. But I know in our residential contracts, it is, it's verbiage in there saying that, you can't put hazardous chemicals, you can't put dead animals unless it's food waste type things. But I don't, I was taking some notes as I was hearing everybody speak, and, I don't mind looking into this myself, just to see maybe what some options are, especially with, like you're saying, with it being unattended. Someone could put, lighter fluid in there, and, not only is that a problem for you, it could set our truck on fire, and
I saw that on the news this week.
it happens,
So I think what you're telling me is that Jay and Harvey needs to get with your company and work it all out.
that'd be great.
All right, we agree, everybody good with that?
We'll try to find some locations that would be convenient, but not necessarily somebody's front door.
Put it in front of my house.
Oh, yeah, I wanna see you tell her what I think.
Yeah, tell her. See what Debbie says.
All right, let's
I'll
get,
second that.
okay, is everybody good now? Okay, thank
Is
you,
there
ma'am.
anything else?
For me?
You
Is
have
there
anything
anything
else?
else?
No.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Under old business, do I hear a motion to hear Resolution 2118 on limited paving contract for Public Works Department?
Motion.
Have a motion from Alderman Fisher. Have a second. Second from Alderman Hahn. Mr. J.
This was deferred from the previous meeting, and I defer to Harvey Ellis, our Public Works Director.
Okay, Mr. Harvey, if you will stand up and address I'd appreciate it.
Yes, again, as I mentioned earlier, I don't know if I can add much to it, but the goal of this was to fill in this gap between the large annual, semi-annual projects and what the town staff can do. I think it was mentioned in the last workshop to see about possibly piggybacking off of the county on some of this work. I've made numerous attempts. I know that can be done as far as pricing per ton for gravel or asphalt and different things. I'm not sure on this one. I have not been able to get any correspondence back from the county at this time. I'll continue to check on that. But this will be a little more. There'll be labor involved, digging out, removing material, disposing of material, and then coming back and overlaying asphalt. So that was the premise of this. That was the plan. And I think, again, as I said, it would really speed up the process of taking care of these projects that fall in that gap.
All right. Okay, any questions for Mr. Fisher?
Yes, sir.
You and I ran into each other, not physically, but ran into each other on the road, and we were looking at all these potholes. And thank God we have trucks, because you got some deep ones. My question being, do we have a map of all the roads in Oakland and which ones really need it and which ones we just need to cover and which ones should be paved by contractors or what have you?
No, to answer your question, simply no, but I do have, I think the foundation on that. A few months back, I gave you guys a map of the last 10 years' history of what has been paved. that'll kind of give you a time frame. Anything that is not highlighted on that map obviously hasn't been done within the last 10 years. And the one-
Because Mr. Russ is right.
Yes.
It's pretty messed up over there. And, I mean, this is what I was doing in my truck.
Again, that would be the other part of this is to, let's finish the project we're under first,
Right.
okay? And then in the meantime, evaluate where we're at and prioritize
You got a time frame?
as soon as possible.
Hopefully.
There are about 100 other things that are on that same level, so.
My concern, if I could be recognized, is, under 268, repairs and maintenance, roads and streets, it appears that we've spent $18,135 out of $25,000 for this year's budget, with a remaining balance of $68,6493. Isn't that the line item this would come out of?
Yes.
So we only have $6,000, but then down here, in your budgets on 930, road, streets, capital outlay, we're 11,295.28 in the hole. So I understand we could move some money around in this budget line item without a budget amendment, but where would that money come from to do this repair?
That's a good question.
Mr. J, you want to comment?
We're using this budget tracker today and last month's to try to determine exactly where we are at this point in the fiscal year. Your point's well made. We don't have a lot of flexibility in several of these accounts. And Mr. Sutton, as you've talked about before, the paving contract that was awarded last fall exceeded the budget allocation.
Yeah, hopefully they'll give us some good news that some of that COVID relief can be spent on projects such as this, and we're bailed out. But until we know whether we're gonna be able to spend that or not, I mean, I don't see how we can spend money we don't have. And I know that ain't what everybody wants to hear about their streets.
Right.
Yes, sir.
When they do start this, or when you do start it, whoever does it, will you make sure it's done at the right temperature and not go out there when it's freezing or raining and make sure it's dry? Because if you lay that on top of that water, you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You don't even need a map. You can go back where we patched last year and redo them.
Understood.
I mean, I'm just not seeing it in this budget where, I'm not seeing the money. And so, I mean, I think we need to fix, if we got emergencies, and I think Mr. Minor, I'll ask his opinion on this. But I always understood the pothole law in Tennessee was, if didn't nobody know about it, shame on you. But if the responsible party knew about it, and then they didn't do something about it, and then there was damage, that the town could be responsible for any damage that was done to somebody's vehicle. So we obviously know about this. We've been told, and it's on public record here tonight, which makes us liable if something happens. So if there's some emergency funds or something, if we need to hire a contractor to go out there and fix these holes or put cones around them where people don't run in them, whatever it takes for us not to be liable for a bunch of cars, it needs to be done, and it's sooner than later, as in tomorrow and Saturday. But you know, I'm amazed that we don't have a plan now. I mean, I'm amazed. But we all know we're liable right now.
Mr. Hine?
How would that, I mean, if we can, if it's legal to pull money from another, department to get this.
No, it's not.
Has to be done on a budget amendment, with the only way, unless it's a line item transfer within this budget. Now, let me tell you this, if any of these other department heads got some money that they ain't using, they can give it to Mr. Harvey. I've never seen that done now. Mr. Walter, you got any?
Walter does.
I'm giving space a lot.
Good deal.
Mrs. Vaughn doesn't got you, what? Mr. J.
I hear what the aldermen are saying, and believe you me, I'm getting calls and emails every day about the street. But we've got a couple of challenges. As you all know, our sales tax is running behind estimates. We have a money around within the budget to cover it. So I'm being very cautious in how we're moving money around. Now, Mayor, if I may, I'll get into this. The rules on the COVID Relief Act that Congress passed, it does look like the city's gonna get a substantial amount of money over 2 years, not right away. We won't get the first allocation for at least 60 or 90 days. The rules on how we can expend that money have yet to be written. One of the articles I read today said if you're using for street paving, you have to follow the procedure that TDOT has on what's called surface transportation improvements, the STDG monies. So it's not a matter of saying we're gonna take 250,000 and spend it on the streets. But it does look like we may have an opportunity to get some additional money to plug into our budget to cover some of these things. So we're following that, and if they stay on the 69-day schedule, that's within this fiscal year, which would help to your point.
Okay,
Mr. Duncan.
yes, is for the need, it is, the government center. And certainly, this is a need. And, for this 21-18 resolution, it is a need.
Yes.
And we wanna go ahead and do this in here. And, through this, it'll work out.
Yes, and what this resolution does is gives Public Works authority to get the bids. So then we'll come back with what the expenses are and all. This is to get the process underway.
Well, it's not gonna cost anything to enter into a contract, that's for sure. So I'll make a motion to approve 21-18.
Have a motion, Vice Mayor Sutton, to approve.
Second.
Have a second from Alderman Duncan. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on. Have a motion to hear ordinance 2103, amending municipal code 7507. All right. Do I have a second? Mr. J.
One of the things we have been doing at the request of the board is reviewing our various fees. As you all know, we have a fire fee, which is to assist with capital improvements related to fire service, emergency medical services with the city. This ordinance would increase the fire fee from 12 cents per square foot to 18 cents per square foot for new construction. This is paid at the time of the building permit issuance. It is a one-time fee, and the money is restricted for use by the fire department for capital projects. And Chief Wall's here. Our fire fee is actually much lower than some of our surrounding comparable cities. So that is our recommendation.
Chief?
Yes, sir.
Would you step in a minute, please? Give us a random, do you know off the top of your heads what some of the different communities charge?
Well, the biggest one I looked at is I got with MTS and talked to
Can you
Dennis
come
Wolf.
over here so we can hear?
Yes, sir. I talked with Dennis Wolf, and he used basically Collierville, which is higher than ours. And a lot of these come under development fees, but he could actually pinpoint the Collierville fee, which was higher.
Okay.
How much was it?
I think it was at 22 cents, if I
Okay.
remember correct.
All right. Anybody have any questions for the chief? Mr. Fisher?
Would you have a problem with it going to 20 cents?
No, sir.
I bet you would like it, huh? What is the problem with doing 20 vice 18? Because these numbers are all messed up. Every time we do something, it's like 17 cents, 13 cents. Can we get an even number, please?
Well,
Mr. J?
The 18 cents, we were looking at a 6 cents increase from a 50% increase in terms of percentage-wise from the existing rate. The other thing that I put in my cover memo, you probably remember, we don't need to wait 10 years to look at this fee again. We need to come back in 2 years. And one of the reasons I say that, and one of the reasons we need to look at this fee, whether it's 18 or 20 cents, we're talking about a West Side Fire Station in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
We're talking about a ladder truck in the next couple of years. We need the money where we can do some of these things. So I don't, certainly staff doesn't have an objection to 20 cents, but we said 18 with the plan that we would come back in 2 to 3 years and look at it again.
Chief, just for general information, what does that truck cost?
The last engine we got, which was paid 100% out of the fire service fee, was $400,000.
And what is this truck that you're saying you need now gonna cost?
An aerial, for Oakland, a brand new Quinn, don't die from sticker shock, is about $1 million, $1.25 million. But for the volume of calls, there's a lot of good apparatus that a lot of cities will move out. They'll use a piece of equipment for 2 years and move it out and replace it. For the town of Oakland, for this size, I can't see spending $1.25 million when there's good apparatus out there.
Okay.
And so, for a fourth of that, we could solve our problem and provide the service.
So without holding you to an exact number, you're saying roughly $400,000 or $500,000,
Easy.
or we could get what you need
Oh,
for a
easy.
truck. Okay, thank you, sir. All right, we need a vote on this for first. I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I make a motion that, we bring it up to 20 cents.
Have a motion from Mr. Fisher to raise the fee to 20 cents. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second for Mr. Hahn. I think we probably better take a roll call on this one, gentlemen. We'll start on the end. Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mr. Cate,
No.
Mr. Duncan,
Alzio? No.
Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton.
No.
Motion dies 3-2.
And I'll tell you why that I voted no.
No, what,
Because Chief Walls said that other towns had this figured in their development fees. So I know by looking at our tractor, we have a development fee, we have a fire fee, we have a park fee. So at what point in time are we doing too much? So if I had those figures on what people are paying other places on, if everybody has this stuff rolled into the development fees, then we've got additional fees. So let's get a total cost on what our development fees are, and along with the fire fees and park fees as well. Because I look in these funds, and they've got money in them. I'm for being up to standard and charging enough, but I don't know. I'd like to hear from a developer on this, to how we compare with other places, if there's one in the room on fees.
Yeah, I'm Louis Ricky. I'm developing some subdivisions out here with some partners, but I don't do enough business in the other municipalities where I give you an honest. Looking at your building permits and what things cost, I mean, it's pushing right now, because that's a pass on to your home buyer, you know, so.
Right now, y'all, lots, people are paying $55,000 for lots in Oakland. And we keep raising these fees. What's a lot gonna cost somebody to build a house here? And are we gonna price ourselves out of growth?
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. But if, with more information, I can make an informed decision, I can tell you that. But I can't just up the fees without knowing what other people are charging on everything. But that's what bothered me about Chief Walls' statement, that other places had these fees rolled into the development fees already. So, you know, the total cost is what I'd like to know. I don't know what was your reason?
Basically the same thing. I'd like to get a lot more information on where this money is being added before I vote on it.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
If you already added in the fees, why would you double it? I don't know, I'd just like to see some figures on it before I vote.
Well, as I said, though, the fire fee is is a standalone fee and goes into a line item restricted to the fire department. Now, I can tell you from personal experience, I know a city that had a substantially higher, what was called a facilities tax fee. And the facilities tax fee was for capital equipment related to growth for police, fire, parks and recreation, and solid waste. It was a lump sum fee. What was different about that was the Board of Aldermen allocated that money on an annual basis between those 4 or 5 departments. It was not a set percentage. The way Oakland has it set up, the money is dedicated to those specific funds. And if I may, there is, I think, over $300,000, for example, in the fire fund. But if we buy a piece of property for a fire station, if we decide to build a fire station, if we decide to build or purchase a ladder truck, that money's going to disappear very quickly. And what we're trying to do is start laying the groundwork to cover some of that where we can purchase it without going into debt.
Well, I can look through the budget, y'all, and I can find a lot of problems in it, and fire fees ain't one of them. We budgeted, for this year, the example is, we budgeted $48,000 to take in fire fees. We've taken in already this year $62,580.47, which makes us $14,580.47 above what we budgeted this year already on fire fees. So when I don't mind tackling a problem, I don't mind raising a fee as long as we're in line with what everybody else is doing, and the information's not here on what people are charging these developers to build. But I know this, that lots are high, and I just gotta be sure to make an informed decision to have that information, and we wasn't provided that information. I don't think.
Could I make another motion that since that's
Yeah.
available?
Yes, sir, you
Make a
can.
motion to table it till we get the information.
That's a good motion, I'll second that.
Have a motion to table, have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you have an order on the table.
Yes, we do. And it died it didn't have a motion, if I'm correct.
No, it failed.
It failed.
3 to 2
It died
vote.
yeah, it had to be.
Motion fails, I have to make another.
A motion to table takes precedent, I believe.
Okay. So, where are we at here, lawyer?
I think you tabled your 2103 resolution.
All right, we tabled it.
I'd like just more information, maybe Chief Waters or somebody can get it to us, or somebody that can go through some paperwork. It's hard to sit here and vote on taxpayers' money when you don't know what you're voting on.
We received that message loud and clear. Anything else? All right, moving on. Do I hear a motion to hear resolution 2124?
So moved.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor Sutton, have a second from Mr. Cates. Mr. J.
Mr. Sam Howard with DT Design is here this evening. This is the next procedural step in your discussions on the Bowers Road Park. This is the design agreement for construction plan and specs for phase 1 of the project. Now, at the end of this design contract, which would be roughly 5 or 6 months, we would have a set of plans and specs ready for bidding. And this money, DT Studios has given us a very good contract price, thank you, and it is within the budget allocation.
All right.
Sam Henry, Delhoff Thompson Design Studio. One of those services you already paid for us, you already asked us to provide was graphic images, which is what these boards are. We're going to leave these with you. We can send you digital images to whoever's in charge of the website so that you can put those up and use these for whatever the city, the town would like to use them for.
Okay.
So, like Mr. Johnson said, we've given a proposal for
services, architect, engineer, landscape architecture, all the way through construction documents, construction administration.
Okay. Any members of the board got questions? Mr. Cates?
Vice Mayor Sutton, is that what we were talking about earlier, different cost on this?
Yes, well, I think that's not included in phase one, what you've got here, is it?
No, this
Oh, that's
goes
just-
with the master plan.
It's just the one over there, right? On the right?
Yes, sir. These two.
That's
actually
what
are
it includes.
phase one.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may, I want to note one thing. We're asking for authorization for the mayor to sign the full contract, which is $440,000. However, at this time, we would only authorize task 1 and 2. This is similar to what you did during the master plan design. Phases 1 and 2 would be the design and the construction documents for bidding. The phase 3 or task 3 is the construction construction administration and inspection once a bid is awarded.
However, if I may speak, the resolution has been reworded to require a revision to the agreement in order to remove the construction administration provision. So I would point that out to the board, that it would not allow the mayor to sign the current agreement, but that there would be a revision required.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward revision, just removing
It is.
construction
It is.
administration.
All right, you've heard the comments from our design. You've heard Mr. Johnson say it's within the budget. If there are no further questions, what is the wishes of the board?
My only question is it your recommendation that we move on this?
Yes, if I may, and I'll probably open the door here, I shouldn't. If it is our intent to proceed with this project as a priority of the city, this is the next step. If there's any reason not to proceed at this time with this project, now's the time to say so.
Mr. Fisher?
Phase 1 and phase 2, or phase 1A and phase 1B, grand total is gonna be about $9 million.
Sir, that's our estimate right now. Yes, sir. Construction wise.
Not trying to be rude or anything, but how are we gonna pay for this?
I think that it would be up to the council, obviously, the Board of Aldermen, but it would be through a combination of grants, loans, donations. I'm not trying to be funny, but I mean,
Senator Wally can't help out, huh?
yes, if somebody's a benefactor, we name a ball field after them.
So,
I think what we're looking at, though, one thing we need to remember, and this is factual. As a municipality, we will borrow on a tax exempt basis. And interest rates right now are at a historic low. If we're going to borrow several $million, and it is several $million, now may be the time to do it. Also, the other point that I would offer, we're probably looking at a 20-year bond, a 20-year term. We're not, this is not gonna be a short-term loan.
just on the $10 million first. But we're going down to 35 million. Over 20
several-
years?
Well, over many years, many phases, yes.
I don't know if I'll be alive.
Ken, realistically, what would be the construction timeline for phase 1, 1A and 1B?
9 months.
After contract's awarded?
Yes, sir. Well, including, I mean, within a year for sure, 12 months. Yes, sir.
Within how long?
A year.
I thought you said a year or two.
But that goes from, when we say yes, it's gotta go to the state, correct?
Yeah.
So it goes from you to contractor, he starts
We
building.
put plans together to get a bid set, it would be bid. Now I'm talking construction, now the design, I mean, we've got 3 to 4 months of design.
Okay, and then,
on our end.
right,
And then you bid it, you put the set together, you bid it for a month, you approve it another month, then you build it after that. So, all in, you're looking at, if you say yes tonight, 2 years from now, that park can be open.
The whole thing?
No, phase one.
Is that one B too, or just one A?
Right now it's for A and B, all 5 of the multipurpose fields.
Any other questions?
My only other question is how much more expensive this is gonna be to phase out design in phases? And what you would give me an estimate if we went ahead. I know it's gonna be more expensive for y'all to work at it in blocks. So, you know, my question to you is, what would it cost to get this design phase over with? For the entire park, for the entire plant?
I would have to check on that. You talking for everything?
7.
Well, the biggest part of that,
I know it's a big number.
sure.
I know it is, but here's what I also know. I know that 400,000 at a time could be reduced if we do it all at once. And also, I would have thought that we would have got our nature trails and stuff done. That would have been something that we could get people in that park to go all around it and exercise, and maybe get some grants to do for wellness on all people. So, you know, I'm not against passing this tonight. I just want, you know, a commitment from Dahlhoff and Thomas that if y'all go back to the drawing board and tell us what different phases are, maybe just phase 1 and 2. You know, if we did both of them at the same time, what that cost would be. And then versus the planning phase for the whole thing, that we could have an option, that y'all would work with us to have an option on which one of those we pick. If we pass this tonight, I'd like for y'all on a gentleman's agreement to say, hey, we're still gonna give y'all an opportunity to do more. Because the fact of the matter is, we have more in the budget that we're not gonna spend this year if we don't do it. Because you've already said you're 3 months out on the planning for this phase. All right, so 3 months out puts us into 21-22 budget. Well, we've got 700,000 in our budget for 2021. So, which is basically sales tax revenue where we passed the sales tax increase, is where that money come from, because we passed it in order for that money to be used towards park and recreation, which will answer Mr. Fisher's question on a 20-year bond, $600,000-700,000 a year will pay that off.
The only thing that I might want to bring to your attention is, one good thing about waiting is that you get in the park, you see how you use it. You know, you may get in there and build 5 multi-purpose fields, and you may figure out, gosh, we could use 10. And so that may change the design of the park. But if you've gone ahead and paid us to design it like this, just sometimes as you get into it over the years, you start to see things that maybe would work better. Maybe there's no need at all for tennis courts or pickleball courts. Let's just use that. So I would kind of hate to get everything done right now without you kind of getting in and getting used to it, and maybe the Parks Department and the community, you know, comes back and says, we want this instead of this.
Well, we know we're gonna want baseball fields over there on that other end, so
Yes, sir.
I'd at least like a design fee for 1 and 2.
Sure.
And then let us make a decision where we wanna
And take
do
this
1 or 1 and 2.
I'd like to take this into consideration on the project too.
And we still would like one of those fields named after y'all's firms.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hahn?
Good way, also just a comment, for funding, you know, get these fields put in there, start hosting some tournaments, that go a long way for funding also. Just something to think about.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2124.
Second.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor Sutton, have a second from Mr. Cates. All in favor?
Can you read that motion again, and exactly what we're doing?
Your resolution 2124, Oakland Sports Complex, you're giving the phase 1 design agreement is what you're approving tonight.
Phase 1, A and B.
A and B.
Okay.
Phase
I
1.
also recommend that a copy of the final revised resolution be provided to the design folks so that they could see the revisions that need to be made.
All right, sir. Mr. Vaughn, you got that down? Okay. All right. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, sir. By the way, I'd like more than one field name back here. All right, moving on to resolution. Do I hear a motion to hear resolution 2125?
So moved.
Have a motion, have a second. Have a motion from Vice Mayor Sutton, have a second from Mr. Cates. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Mr. J.
This resolution authorizes a agreement with King Engineering for construction inspection at Highland Park subdivision on Highway 194 North.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2125.
I got a couple questions.
I have a question for Mr. Fisher.
King Engineering on, I've got engineering services. Is that where this money's coming from?
This money to pay this contract would come from fees levied on the development at time of construction.
Who, on this contract, who is the, builder's engineering firm? Do you know? Do we know?
Not on this resolution, it might be on the development agreement, but it's not on this. This is our representative on the
Okay. But where's that money coming from?
fees levied.
Well,
on
we,
the development.
okay. Then I'm gonna have a question for the next one as well.
All right, well, you through with this one?
Yeah, I am.
All right. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, you can move on with that one. All right. Do I hear a motion to hear resolution 2126? Have a motion from Mr. Cates. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second for Mr. Duncan. All in favor?
No.
All right. Got a motion to hear.
Yes.
Got a question, Mr. Fisher.
So who's the contracting engineering on this one?
The civil plans that were submitted to the city and Ken King, your engineer for approval, were done by McCarty Granberry.
Okay.
Josh Burnett was their representative.
All right, good, thank you.
All right.
That was easy.
Any other questions for the developer? All right, thank you, sir. And I entertain a motion.
Motion?
I have a motion from Mr. Fisher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Duncan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Got one abstention from Representative Sutton. Everybody else in favor? Do I need to take a roll call, or are you comfortable? All right, you have your authority, Mr. J. Next resolution is Resolution 2127. Hear a motion to hear Resolution 2127.
So moved.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor Sutton. Do I have a second? Have a second from Mr. Cates. All right, Mr. J.
Again, this is an agreement with King Engineering to be our representative for construction inspection during the development of Riverwood Gardens Phase 4.
Questions? Mr. Fisher.
Who's the developer's, engineer?
That would be the next item.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. The contract for Riverview Phase 4 has been delayed, so
My only question, King Engineering has already done the engineering services on the rest of this phase, is that correct?
the rest of the development.
Development, yes.
That's been done.
1, 2, and 3.
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2127.
Have a motion from Vice Mayor Sutton.
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Fisher. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Resolution 2128, Riverview Gardens Phase 4.
That needs to be deferred, please.
Deferred, okay,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't have it.
okay. Resolution 2129, King Engineering Inspection of Oakland Ridge Subdivision, contract authorization. We have a motion to hear.
So moved.
Have a motion, have a second. Have a second for Mr. Cage. Questions?
God, do I have questions?
You have a question?
No.
No questions? What is the board's wishes? Have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, resolution 2129.
Have a second. Have a second for Mr. Cates. Motion, Mr. Duncan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, resolution 2130, Oakland Ridge subdivision contract approval. Mr. J.
This, resolution, this contract with Oakland Ridge subdivision has gone through several reviews over the last couple of days, but we have an agreement that the city and the developer are both, satisfied with, and King and you're satisfied with, but it didn't make it to the packet. Did it?
We did not, because it only got approved today, and so I put them on the.
I thought we put them on the table, but I don't
I
see
got
it.
my packet.
That's not here.
May we defer that to the 29th?
Yes, you're right.
All right.
It'll just be the 29th.
All right with the board?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, we're moving on now. Okay, resolution 2131, truck purchase for the water department, request for bids. Mr. J.
This is a budgeted item, and Mr. Ellis could answer any questions you have. This is a request to seek bids. Obviously, the award would come back before the council.
Okay, Mr. Ellis, you want to step to the podium, please? I'm thinking you're probably gonna have a question too.
I'll make a motion to hear.
Second.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir, appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Have a motion to hear. Have a second, now we have approved, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, for correcting me here.
Now you can step up.
Now you can step up, and I'm gonna start it off, even though I'm not a voting member, I'm gonna pull priority here.
Okay.
I have one request.
Yes, sir.
Get me multiple bids, don't come in here with one bid from one company. That's my request.
Okay. Fair enough.
Members of the board, do you have anything you wish to say?
I hope it's a Ford.
Again, just for review, this is a budgeted item. This is what we use in the water department. Any of you around town drive and see the current truck, they use it every day almost, putting in water meters and making repairs. That current vehicle is a 2002, still in good condition, 160,000 miles. We want to defer that to the wastewater department to be used in that department. Still several years service in that truck. We just need a newer, upgraded, larger vehicle to carry more people and reduce the amount of trucks on the job potentially. That's it, basically.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2131.
Have a motion for Vice Mayor Sutton to approve, have a second. Have a second for Mr. Cage, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving on. All right. The next one, gentlemen, is just some clarification. As you know, we have been appointing members to boards. I'm still in the process of looking at, appointing, and trying to understand all the boards that we have in this community. At this point, I wanted to bring it to the board that I wish to add a voting member from this council to the board. Now, in the past, we've not had a voting member on there, on the Parks Board. I would request tonight that the board approve my appointment of Mr. Hahn to that board to be a voting member.
Make a motion to approve Mr.
Can I
Hahn.
ask a question?
Okay.
What board?
Parks Board.
You didn't
I
mention
thought I
that.
mentioned Parks Board,
No,
did I?
you did not.
Apologize, Mr. Fisher. If I could point you to the Park Board, Mr. Hahn. You're already a non-voting member of that board. I would like to make you a voting member.
Hoorah.
Everybody good? All right. I have a
approve.
motion from Vice Mayor Sutton. Have
Second.
approval from Mr. Cates and Mr. Fisher both. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. I'd vote for myself. Mr. Hahn, I trust that you will represent the board well there, and with the pressure that's gonna be on that board over this park, there's gonna be a lot of work there, and hope that you can keep the board informed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Resolutions, bids, awards, and contracts. Jay?
None this
Oh,
evening.
hey,
None?
did we cover the Burton Place? I had put this here on my notes. Somebody added Burton Place to the,
I added it.
have we talked about that?
We have not.
Okay, we need to cover that.
I thought we put it at the end.
It is.
Okay, should've put it right there. shouldn't
We're
we?
at the end there.
We're at the end, all right. I don't have the,
It was on the podium when you came in tonight.
is it a resolution or?
It's an addendum to the contract.
Have a motion to hear the addendum to the contract on Burton Place.
So moved.
Have a motion. Have a second. Have a motion from Vice Mayor Sutton. Have a second from Mr. Cates. Mr. J.
The developer has approached the town with the request that he be allowed to put the final 1-inch asphalt on section B, and we would have a 1-year warranty as the standard. The reason for this contract amendment, the current contract provides that he has posted a letter of credit with the city, and we would be doing that. He wants to go ahead and do it now. We're agreeable to that.
I think this is where we wanting to go on it, so this would be a good example of seeing how this holds up. I make a motion to approve the addendum to the Town of Oakland subdivision contract to Burton Place Section B.
All right, before we vote, I have a question for Mr. Fisher.
When was the last time he put anything down on that road? Gravel, dirt, whatever, anything?
In section B,
Because he's putting the last 1-inch coat. When was the last time anything was done to it?
it's in fairly good shape, isn't it?
He's in good shape, yes, it's completely built out, I'm not sure how to use it.
Mr. Tom?
If you read the addendum, the town's engineer, Mr. King, is requiring that a minimum of 5 sample bores be taken of the current surface with a geotechnical report from those bores prepared, signed, and given to Mr. King for review before the final 1-inch.
That's what I'm looking at, because,
Paragraph 4.
all right, just want to make sure.
Each and a quarter, each and a half?
It's a 1-inch.
What's up?
I thought I saw somewhere each.
For the final wearing surfaces.
Oh, just a final?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
that's fine.
Not on this, I don't think we can, this is the older one, and
This is
two,
the
the
older
2-inch connection's already down, this is the
This
older.
is what we kind of been talking about anyway.
Okay,
I second it.
do I have a motion?
Ken made a motion.
May I have a motion from Mr. Sutton?
I second.
I have a second from Mr. Cates. All questions?
Good.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Apologize for wanting to put that down to the end of the meeting, not here. Again, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, for keeping me straight.
We're in good shape.
All right, no resolutions and bids, contracts tonight. Consideration of business items. Under that, we have, do I hear a motion to hear, we don't need a motion here, do we? We need a motion to hear, yeah, we
I'll
do.
make a motion here.
All.
Yeah, I have a motion, need a motion to hear Argo Construction's request for timeline. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Sutton. Have a second from Mr. Cates. I'll be interested to hear this one.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor.
How you, sir?
Mayor Sutton, Alderman, thank you for having me. My name's Stephen Bean, Argo Construction. I know most of you know we were awarded the contract for the 16-inch force main from the lagoon to the Loosahatchee River. We obtained our notice to proceed on October 1st, 2020, with an intent to start work on or before October 15th. As you all know, for the past 12 months, things have just been out of whack everywhere with vendors, suppliers. We've had several COVID shutdowns with vendors, and the past 2 months, unprecedented weather. We received all of our approved submittals on October 22nd, ordered our material the next day. We did not start receiving the yellow line pipe needed for this project until November 11th, 2020. We ordered the vaults, the concrete structures for the air release valves, approximately 7, ordered those the first week of October. We just received the first 3 structures last week. We started working about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and everything was going smooth until probably 2 months ago. And then we hit the bad snow and ice storm on February 15th. We had to cease work February 15th, that Monday through Friday, and then it took another 8 days to dry out. We anticipated to be able to lay approximately 500 foot of pipe a day, and we're barely able to get 150 foot a day in the ground. We lost an excavator today off of 194 trying to track it back to the west side of 194 north of 64. It buried itself. We've had the same problem with bore equipment. The past 3 weeks, we've had 2 bore rigs bury themselves before we could even get to the bore site. And the last one that happened, we spent about 6 hours, had to almost disassemble the entire bore rig just to get it out from behind the woods. We're just working in horrible conditions right now, and I'm asking for another 30 working days to complete this project. I've talked to my crew today, and I anticipate being able to complete this project by April 29th,
What was the original date?
February 8th.
What-
We have about a 51-day delay before we could even start the project, just waiting to receive material.
Did you notify the city that you had a delay because of material?
I don't believe we did at the time.
That would have made things a lot easier on
Yes,
them.
sir, I agree.
Did y'all pull off and leave for a while? Was it due to not having material, or was it for another job?
We did pull off for another job, but part of our, we were outrunning our bore crew, and it got to where we could not get out ahead of the bore crew anymore. And then I lost a crew to COVID, and I lost my equipment manager to COVID, all within a 4-week period. And so we made the decision to pull off for 2 weeks to go address another matter.
Is that bore crew yours, or do you contract that out?
We contract that out.
Okay.
So if you didn't have people here to do it, how did you have people to do it somewhere else?
Sir?
You said you pulled them off and moved somewhere else. If you didn't have the people to do it here, how would you have people to do it somewhere
I
else?
just pulled that crew off and said, I didn't have another bore to do. I just pulled my crew off because we could no longer progress without having any more bores shot.
Again, it would have been nice if you'd just informed us.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Did you inform King King or any?
I did. I talked to King and Jim Hunter, and I think we also worked with Mr. Ellis. When we first started the project, there were some issues with the design, and by the time we got our material in, I believe B&C Construction had already built Chickasaw Ridge or Chickasaw Trail Drive behind Walmart. It's a new road. We ended up having to go through a change order to bore under the road. That took about 2 weeks for approval, and then once that was approved, Mr. Ellis informed us that it was listed in the contract that we would have 48 hours to shut down the pumps at the lagoon to make our tie-in, and he had a concern that 15 minutes may cause an issue. So we had to get Xylem in to come in and work out a bypass plan to allow us to make the tie-in at the lagoon,
Okay.
which also stopped for a couple weeks.
Mr. J.
I'll defer to Mr. Fisher.
Okay,
When
Mr.
you
Fisher?
guys did this, pulled off everybody, did you guys realize how long it was gonna take before we even got our materials and all that, so they can go ahead and move forward?
Can you repeat that?
When you pulled these people off, okay, knowing that you were waiting for material, did you get a set date? Because right after that became a snow days.
Yes, I informed Mr. King and Jim Hunter that it would be approximately 2 weeks.
Is there any consideration for the, on that contract for the city?
As far as,
You guys are breaching your contract.
yes, sir. We're not
Is there any-
looking for that extra 2 weeks. I mean, we're willing to take a hit on that for having to pull our crew for 2 weeks, but we're just asking for a little bit of extra time due to the weather and severe material delays. And
But there's no consideration for the town.
Attorney Minor, on the contract, it allows for like weather, doesn't it? And so, what is the hit? That's what I'd like to know. What is the hit?
I've lost about 30 days due to weather.
So what is that a day? Is that per day?
think that's like confused.
Is there like an assessment or something?
It's a consideration.
How does this affect our citizens? That's what I need to know.
It affects them. And the question being, what consideration, being monetary, breach of contract, that we get? And you know that.
The damages, you gotta come back for the liquidated damages,
Right,
$800 a day.
Okay.
$800 a day.
Yes, sir.
And you're looking for how many days?
I'm looking for an extension of the contract to April 29th, which would give me 30 more working days. And if we were to include the approximate 30 days that I lost due to weather, which the area we're working in, if we were working in a different area in Oakland, I mean, we did last year, we completed phase 1 of the sewer project on the south side of 64. We could get a rain day out there, we're working on slopes, everything can wash off, and we could go back to work the next day. But we're working on the north side of 64 behind O'Reilly's, heading east to 194.
Oh, it's wet back there.
And one rain day cost us 3 days.
So I guess what I'm saying is that's not gonna be $800 a day for all them days because of the rain and the snow and all that. Well, my only concern is this, I guess for you, Harvey. I know that the purpose of this line is so when it does come heavy rains and stuff, that we don't have to sit there and manage this water out of the plant, that it runs out. So I guess if it's been raining, y'all have had problems, but I mean, how do you think the job's going? How do you think they're doing?
Again, go back to this project on 64, I think we were all very aware of that, very pleased with the work.
You did a great job.
We enjoy working for the town.
I think this is, it's a different animal, different location. As far as, yes, I need the line in, yes, it would make our life a lot easier, that's why we're doing it, obviously. Can I sit here and say that we've been damaged by this extension? I would not feel comfortable saying that. I don't feel I can justify.
You don't feel comfortable saying that we've been damaged by their delay? Well, I make a motion that we give them an extension to their contract.
Mr. J, you want to make a comment before we?
Well, my question, comment, if the board allows an extension to April 29th,
Yes, sir.
will you need it?
Yes, sir.
What about weather?
Well, I will have to claim weather days. I need 30 working days and still be allowed to claim.
Are you committed to say that y'all are
That's
gonna be
not
working
30
from
days.
now till then like you have been?
Yeah.
I will have my crews out there 10 hours a day. We will work Saturdays if you will allow.
Yeah, we don't have any problem with you working on
We don't have
Saturday.
any problem you working on Sunday if you want to.
I just don't want this project to leave Argo with a black eye in the eyes of Oakland. I mean, we love working with you guys. We want to bid more projects.
Well, if I can make a comment here, and then I think we can maybe draw closure. We all run up and down that road. We've seen them working the last few days. They've been working their butt off, and I have no problem with it, except your young man shook his finger at me when I went through that sign. But no, I have no problem. He had a right to shake his finger at me. So, anyway, sir, I think we all believe you're working hard right now, and we're satisfied with that. I just wish there'd been a little better communication earlier. Maybe part of that wasn't your fault. It may have been part of Ken King's fault. So, we'll do that. What are the wishes of the board?
I like the way.
I got a motion.
I like the way y'all are addressing that as you go, so.
Take one, pass it down. I got you
We do
right
not
there.
want any erosion problems. We want to
Pass
keep
them
mud off
around,
the roads.
please.
I saw that was doing a good job up there.
I appreciate that.
I'm through.
Okay, again, what are the wishes, Mr. Duncan?
We have a motion on the floor, I second to that motion, and, most certainly if, IRS can give an extension of 30 days from May the 15th to May the 15th.
Mr. Argo, I'm not sure he didn't just insult you, he compared you to the IRS. All right, gentlemen, all in favor? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Y'all going to work now?
All right, gentlemen, let's move on here. Let's see. Hear a motion to hear the Riley's Auto Parts credit limit increase.
Motion here.
Have a second? Second. All in favor?
Make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve. All in second?
Can I ask you a
Second.
question?
Okay. Yeah.
You better stop that.
Okay.
Why is that in front of us?
Because I wanted it in the minutes.
Excuse me. Okay.
It says on there for the record.
No, that's, okay.
Okay. We have a vote now. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fisher. All right.
Can I ask who did the second on that, please?
I did.
Thank you.
All right. Agenda format. Mr. J, I think this is information.
Yes, I'm not asking or suggesting that you take action tonight, but I'd like to offer 3 suggestions on your agenda based on my experience in other communities. The first is some ground rules for citizen comments. And I'll say right up front, I have not seen an abuse of citizens' comments that I have seen in some other communities in my career. But nonetheless, some ground rules of an individual must state their name and address for the record. They limit their comments to 3 minutes. They address the chair and the members of the board and not the audience. And they only address one subject. That's just some basic ground rule for citizens' comments you might want to consider. We apparently have none now. Second, other places I've been, we have what was called a consent agenda. And we would place items on the consent agenda that are non-controversial, and you would approve a consent agenda by one motion. Any member could pull any item off the consent agenda, and it doesn't need to be voted on. It's not debatable. Any member asking to be pulled from the consent agenda, it's pulled from the consent agenda. But that's something we could consider here if you'd like. The third one, again, this is from my experience in a community. They limited the request by an alderman, by an elected official, to 3 items on any one agenda. We have not had here the experience I've had in some other communities where the privilege of putting something on the agenda could be abused, and I've seen that.
Not by me?
Not by you.
Yeah.
I'm true. No, I've seen it abused. But those are 3 suggestions for your agenda I wanted to put before you. If you want to do them, fine. If you don't, that's fine. But I want to give you some options to consider.
If I may comment on the consent agenda. In public forums, education, school boards, this is a common thing. You have items that are non-controversial. I don't think you've ever done that here, but it is a common form, and I would hope the board would consider it.
Do we have to make a motion or anything?
If there's interest in doing these, I could put it on a future agenda for a formal vote. I was just trying to get this on the table for consideration.
Could we discuss this more on the 29th?
Yes.
Yeah, he's just throwing them out tonight. We're not asking for a vote tonight. Okay? Everybody good?
Good.
All right, moving on. New hires.
None.
No new hires tonight? All right.
Well, yes. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say,
Oh!
there's somebody out there, I don't know.
Mr. Johnson forgot you, didn't he? Miss Amy?
Most of you guys have met her, but this is Victoria Harris. She's our new Assistant Director for Parks and Rec Department. I'll tell you. She's, 25 years old? Is that right? She got a background in Parks and Rec. She worked at Macon Road Baptist School before the COVID, and she's been wonderful since she's been here. She started last week, and we're excited to have her.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Did I understand you played softball at Memphis State University of Memphis?
I did play Division I ball.
Good.
Thank you.
I want her on my team.
All right.
She's on there.
Have a motion to approve invoices? Do we have any invoices tonight?
Yes, we do.
All right. All right. I'll ask you to review the invoices, please.
Actually, the list was only provided, I didn't,
What, I didn't understand it.
that list is all that you have. I have the copies of I have the invoices here if you have questions.
Is the Allied Pest, is that The fumigation.
That was the hump, yes. But that was the one where it had been contracted for.
I make a motion to approve the invoices.
Have a motion to approve. Have a second for Mr. Hines. All in favor? Any opposed?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher opposes?
He always opposes one thing.
Why do we have this? Don't you guys already have the authorization from
They're all
from
over
this
45 days.
2004?
They're all over 45 days past due. And we have to, let.
So any late bills we're responsible for.
Yeah,
Why are they late?
because we didn't receive them.
And that's on them, not us.
But that's not what the rules
They
are.
don't.
Well, then you need to talk to them, say, hey, look, get your bill in, or guess what?
We are trying to get people to now email every bill to
Because
Josh
this
directly.
meeting would be over 20 minutes ago if I didn't talk about this.
Okay, we're good? Mr. Fisher?
I am.
You're good, all right. Moving on. Approval of credit applications, Advanced Fluid Technologies. Ms. Yvonne?
Yes, there is a, which I need Harvey to discuss that. There is a credit application for, Advanced Fluid Technologies for the wastewater department.
Yes, I can help you out a little bit. This request came from our wastewater plant operator. I believe they provide fluids, oils, and greases, materials like that. So it's another avenue to get materials.
Make a motion.
Not much more than that about it.
Okay, Mr. Fisher?
I make a motion.
Mr. Fisher makes a motion to approve. Have a second?
Second.
I got a question.
Okay, have the second. Now, got your question.
How many do we have providers right now? Or do you know?
I couldn't tell you that.
Good? Okay. Have a motion second to approve the credit application. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Mr. Cates, would you like to make the last motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Now, we do have an executive meeting after, as I told them earlier. All right. All right. The meeting is now adjourned. We will go to the executive meeting. Thank you for coming tonight. You have a good day, young lady.
You not get yelling at anybody? Hey Frank, thank you. No, Frank, I'm taking the rest of them.
Glad to meet you, young lady.
Rest of them.
If you just get with Jay and work on that other stuff, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Thank you.